One thing we've noticed through working with lots and lots of high growth businesses is that the expectation is that a manager can just naturally interview people. I thought it'd be really helpful to put 5 tips together that will help you to run a successful interview process. Tip number 1, prepare, and prepare well. What do I mean by that? Understand exactly what you're looking for in terms of the candidate. Skills, experience, values. Identify the questions that you want to ask. Think about the people that you want to have in the process. How many steps in the interview process do you want to have? Communicate, get everybody on board, and then you're ready to go. Number 2, time management. Really important. Give the interview the time that it needs. I know it's really busy, but turn up a few minutes early, make sure the room's prepared. You know, that sounds like common sense, but we're all darting from one meeting to another. Don't be tempted to squeeze too many questions into one interview. It'll mean that you're not listening to the answers. You know, prepare. You've decided on what questions you're going to ask. You've decided on who's going to cover what in terms of people in the interview process. Just make sure you just cover enough in the interview and give that dialogue time so that you can dig a bit deeper in terms of questions where you're not quite sure that you've got what you're looking for. Tip number 3, avoid bias. Nobody wants to bias an interview, but it's often unconscious. We want our candidate to relax so that we can get the best out of them during the interview. But if you go off piste for too long and it just becomes a chit chat, you end up saying things like, I liked that person, but it's often because you might have been to the same places on holiday, or you might enjoy the same hobbies or sport, or just have similar things that you enjoy. All great, but actually you're there for a purpose, and that is to follow your interview process. Stick to your questions and be consistent so that you know that you are being unbiased in your view because you're collecting information. Tip number 4, take notes. Yes, I'm old-fashioned and I like a bit of pen and paper, but joking aside, taking down bullet points throughout the interview can be really important. You'll observe something, just take a quick note. Might sound like common sense, but also I would caveat that with don't take copious notes in the interview. It's been scientifically proven that if you're focused on the detail in your notes, you're not listening and you're not completely engaged and paying attention to what is happening. So of course, take notes. The candidate will see that you're engaged in the process, but importantly, put 5 or 10 minutes aside at the end of the interview to write and reflect in terms of what you saw, what you heard in the interview. If you've got an applicant tracking system, even better, because you can collaborate with those that are in the interview process, so there's not too much repetition, and also you can share with them areas that you didn't feel that you got to the bottom of, or areas that you think are worth digging a little bit more into. So notes are really important. It's surprising, we are all busy. You can get to the end of the same day after an interview and you'll forget the detail that happened during the conversation. So just take a little bit of time to make those notes. It won't take that long, but the value you'll get from doing it will be awesome. Finally, tip number 5, be consistent. Coming full circle, right back to tip number 1, you've prepared really well, you've set your time aside, you're conscious of keeping the interview whilst relaxed, keeping it to your framework, and you are going to keep notes. Consistency is really important because it means that you can compare the candidate. It's really fair and it will make your life a lot easier. Right at the beginning, you should have sat down with those that are part of the interview process and be clear about and agree what you're looking for in terms of the candidate. Decide what you want to ask in order to uncover if they're the right person. Decide who is going to cover what in the interview process. Share notes as you're going through the process. Consistency is really important, and ultimately you will enjoy the interview process more, and ultimately the candidate will really enjoy being interviewed. Yes, it can be a stressful situation, but actually it can also be enjoyable. I wish you the best of luck. Stay tuned, we'll be sharing more hints and tips over the coming weeks. Enjoy the interview process.